hello, I'm back, and I'm covering Black Clover Volume 3. I thought this was like a pretty good one. I did like the fact that basically everyone got their time to shine. Like I thought that we had for the most part equal screen time for everyone, so we kind of got to see who everyone was. Like I had some minor gripes, mostly with parts of the temple. Like one of them was because at one point, well, they defeat Mouse. Noelle, she was protecting Mimosa. They defeated him, and then they get into the temple, which, I mean, I did really like the design of the treasure room. There's just so much stuff. I like the fact that you can tell it's been covered up for a long time because there's like trees and everything growing inside. And it's like pretty obvious, you know, what's been in there for like, I don't know how long I don't think they said how long this place has been abandoned, but for a long time if there's like trees and other plants like growing inside the treasure room. They get inside, they're having fun. Found the scroll with the wind spirits still inside, and then everyone's just kind of like looking around. Nero brings Asta to a section, it looks like towards like the very like back of the room, or like right across from the door, where to like this area, and it looks pretty obvious, at least to me, that they like boarded this up maybe sometime after they constructed it, because it looks like a very like obvious outline to me, like it was either destroyed at some point or they tore it down and then put the bricks around it, because like I said, it looks like a very like strong outline of like new-ish brickwork or something. Or maybe I'm just thinking too much of it, but Mao said woke up, attack them, and send Asta flying into the room, and and then we feel that there's another sword inside the room. And it's like, how did Nero know there was a sword inside the room? That was specifically another anti-magic sword, which is also like pretty convenient that there was another anti-magic sword in this temple for Asta to use, especially since it seems like he's the only person able to use anti-magic weapons because he has no magic, unless they just could sense the magic coming off of it. Because it just seems weird that Nero was the only one who seemed to know that there's a sword in the wall. And also, later on, Mouse, they were fighting, and like I think I mostly remember it from the anime, and it's like the way like the anime portrayed the fight. But he had trapped everyone. Noelle's been injured, so Mimosa's trying to heal her. Asta gets badly injured after he countered one of Mouse's attacks. The other three, Claus, Luck, and Yuna, are trapped in his crystal magic. And then the scroll that Juno read from was the Homo like summoning scroll for the spirit Sil. And he somehow activates the spell, summons her, and at least in the way they showed it up in the anime, was that it was almost seemed like time like froze. She pops up, time freezes, and then she like blows at the giant sword he summons and it breaks. So it's just kind of like, my question was, did she really freeze time, or was this just kind of like so slowed down that it all happened in an instant? I guess I'm also just kind of glad that like the other characters too also slowly getting like power-ups, where Asta gets the sword, gets Sil, whichever. You also get a little bit more explanation of the sort of like the magic system, like there's different like elements we find out: fire, earth, wind, water. And like everyone has that, but then there's a bunch of ones that are like derived from it. So like explosion and smoke from like fire and like wind, I think. Lightning, mist, ice, plant, mud, sand, and steel. And also there's like different types of using the magic. So like offensive mages and then recovery mages, because we find out that, and like Mao seems to be like regaining his memories of living in the Diamond Kingdom. We get a little bit more of like what they do and the horrible experience they did, where he mostly uses crystal magic, mineral magic, but then he starts using fire magic, which we find out later came from his friend Fauna, who was in like the same compound with him. And one of the ways that the Diamond Kingdom got their mages was pitting them against each other until the last one was standing. And Mouse and Fauna were the last two, and he injured her. He was also injured too, and she ended up healing him. And they decided to combine their two magics because she was the last one he had killed, which is just a cool twist of fate. And he ends up surviving with, despite everything they had done. Asta had tried to ask the others to save him, but they couldn't, and everyone basically got out fine. Claus ended up getting a change of out, which I kind of did feel like kind of came off pretty quick, especially for how he'd acted before. I kind of wish they had taken this like one more arc for him to change his mind about Asta and because he basically spent this whole arc being rude to them and looking down on them, and then right as they got out, he changed his mind. I can see him doing that for but maybe not Asta, because he doesn't spend that much time around Asta, but he has with so I can see him like maybe softening up to a little bit more. And then we start getting into the next arc, where Asta and like officially meet the Wizard King. Also, I'm kind of surprised that they don't know what he looks like, because both of them are like pretty surprised when they meet him that they're talking to the Wizard King, like wondering how they didn't know what he looked like, considering he's like one of the two most important people in the country besides the king. So like I could maybe see them not recognizing some of the nobles, but like the Wizard King is the head of like the Magic Knights, basically. And like all Asta wants to do is become the Wizard King, so I'm just kind of surprised that he has no idea what this man looks like. There's no like paintings of him anyway, any kind of like photograph, any other kind of artwork or like descriptions of this man around, that they never heard what he looks like. And then also there's like this one small moment where I think he kind of knows more than he's letting on, simply because when he's looking at Asta's grimoire of the page with this page that is apparently the spell that contains his second sword his second sword comes out. He seems to recognize it and then immediately says, "I've never seen writing like this." So would this be considered like some sort of like demonic language maybe? And this second sword, I forgot, imagine it can actually like absorb people's magic along with like cutting it, as opposed to his first broadsword, which can only like cut and deflect magic. And I don't know if this one can deflect it. I think it can cut it and absorb magic. He invites him to the awarding ceremony, which also gives us more world building of the ranks in the Magic Knights. The highest rank is the Wizard King, and then Grand Magic Knight, Senior Magic Knight, Intermediate Magic Knight, and then Junior Magic Knight. And then the last four are divided into 5 ranks, 1st to 5th. And the more stars they get, the higher the rank becomes. And I'm like assuming that the captains of each squad are probably like the highest rank of like being like the first Grand Magic Knight maybe, because their rank names don't include the captains. No. So it's just the Wizard King, and then right after that it's Grand Magic Knight, so I'm assuming they're number 1 in this rank. And so then we get introduced to 10 different people at the same time. We get introduced to 7 people who are wooden stars, and then it's Leopold, Sol, Nabra, Salad, Alacdora, Siren, and then Hammond. The last 3 are from the Golden Dawn. Nabra and Salad are Noel's older siblings, where Nabra's the oldest daughter and Salad's the second son. I think he's younger than Nabra, because I think it's Nocel, Nabra, Salad, and then Noel. I think that's how it went. I thought he did, for the most part, a pretty good job like introducing all 7 of these people. Basically, one right after another, where the Wizard King kind of like says their rank and then like explaining of like how they've done the missions, which gives insight to them as people. Talking too much, being too strict, like not cooperating with people, stuff like that. And aside from like, at least for now, like Fregolian and For the most part, Leopold, none of the nobles are really portrayed in a good light. Like, they're just such awful people. Like, even to the other nobles, like both Klaus and Mimosa nobles. Mimosa is actually like the cousin of Fegolian and Leopold. I think it was her dad is their dad's like brother, I think it was. They berate her for not being strong enough, for being taken out, for Klaus and not doing his job correctly. And it's like Fegolian is like the only one in the entire room who even tries to like stand up and protect Asta. And even for the most part, kind of like Leopold too, kind of like defends them a little bit, but not as much as Fregolian. He basically is like my favorite character in this whole thing. I'm kind of sad that he doesn't appear that much until like later on. Because I mean, like, this is like the 1 arc he appears in until like much later, I believe. This arc does a really good job at characterizing him, even though he gets taken out by the end. Of him being like a good man. He's very intelligent, he knows what he's doing. Oh yeah, here's a family tree. Sorry, getting sidetracked here, but yeah. Yeah, Mimosa's dad is their dad's brother. And then her mom is actually Noel's mom's sister. So yeah, that got tracked. But, you know, we see Fregolian taking sounds. He seems to know, like, what he's doing. Like, he seems to be, like, a pretty good older brother to Leopold. Because the Wizard King left and Fregolian, like, immediately, like, takes charge once the capital gets invaded by the zombies. Oh, and I should have mentioned that the capital gets overrun by zombies. It's a guy who uses, like, I think it's called Wraith magic, but they get invaded. Seems like someone is using spatial magic. Get into the city. Something happened where there's a bunch of mages who keep a barrier in place because they're in the capital, and Fregolian thinks that they must have either analyzed the barrier magic, or they must have bribed someone who was keeping, like, the shield in place. That, like, apparently, like, no one can enter. I'm assuming, like, only people who, like, allowed access to the capital can pass through it. And so Fregolian ends up, like, splitting everyone up. Asta had run off to try and help everyone. Leopold, like, runs after him because he sees them as rivals, even though Asta has no idea who this kid is. And Fregolian ends up taking Noel with him. I think I mentioned that I'm farther in the anime, but at least this and the reveal of the traitor, I have a couple of questions about, and I'll get into them when I get into the other reviews. And also, like, Fregolian's speech, but yeah, I thought there was, like, a pretty decent volume. I mean, like, I think also one of my little gripes, I mean, this also kind of, like, goes with, like, at least, like, some of the other, like, manga and stuff I read, where it's, like, sometimes I kind of wish that there's maybe, like, a little bit of a buffer between arcs. After arcs, like, between arcs, there was maybe, like, a little bit more downtime before they get dragged into like, the adventure. And that's kind of what I wanted here, which, like, as soon as we finish the craziness, because, like, as soon as the temple finishes and all of the intensity of that arc, it's like we almost get right into the capital being invaded. It ends, and it's like the temple arc ends at the end of chapter 21. Chapter 22 is when they get to the capital, and then 23 is the, like, meeting of the captains. At the end of 24 is when the zombies come, and so it was, like, so quick that I, at least for the most part, maybe wanted, like, a one chapter, have 22 just kind of be, like, them at the Black Bull's hideout, and maybe see, like, you know, the Golden Dawn hideout, talking about what happened, and then 23 be them going to the capital. So at least have some, and just, like, a little bit more time in between, just to kind of, like, relax a little bit before, like, getting right back into the craziness of the next arc. Yeah, other than that, I thought it was, like, pretty good. Like, I think at least for the most part, like I said, he does a pretty good job at, like, establishing, like, characters, who they are as people. Especially since he had to introduce, like, so many characters at once this time. Because usually, Except for when we got introduced to Black Bulls. He usually introduced like a few of them. But yeah, I think that's everything. Peace.